Everybody knows John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. But what about the other guys? The lesser known, that are just as evil. Come along and explore them and learn some hard lessons with me, Brett, and my co-host and beautiful wife, Deanna. Each week, we will be exploring the dark minds of these people, also paranormal, conspiracy theory, and some cryptids. We hope you have as much fun with this as we do.
Hey, classmates.
Hey guys, this is Brett.
We're off a little kilter here.
Maybe we should start over?
No.
No. Okay.
We're fine.
That was Deanna.
Yeah, it's Deanna.
And welcome back to episode 28 of Hard Lessons.
Yeah, buddy.
So, Teach, how was your week?
Oh, I'm going to say that it was good.
Excellent.
It was long, but I mean,
Made it
was
through
good.
it.
Made it through it. Didn't have school on Monday.
Nice.
So, it made the 4 days. Sometimes it can be a little extra, but this week it wasn't.
Wasn't bad at all.
It wasn't bad at all. There's 30-something days left.
School days.
School days, yes. My bad.
Oh, you're good.
So,
The countdown is on.
the countdown has been on since January.
Heck yeah. Well, good deal.
How about yours?
It was a better week at work. Got one truck back, so still just waiting on mine. It's supposed to be here by Wednesday, but it was supposed to be here by last Tuesday. So I'm still driving the old spare.
Still chugging along.
That is right. I'm not being sent home because there's nothing to drive.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, you ready to get started with the more you know?
Yes.
All right. This week it comes from the world of animals.
Animals.
A woodpecker's tongue is so long that it wraps around its brain to protect it while the bird is hammering into a tree.
I'm going to guess that it's not sticking out its beak and wrapping around its head.
No, because then as it's hammering, it would cut the tongue.
This is what I'm like. I don't understand this concept.
Yeah, I looked
so
up.
So it really retracts or whatever and wraps around. I wonder how big its brain is.
Well, not
very big.
Not large.
Not large woodpecker birds. It'd be scary.
Could you imagine?
These large pterodactyl woodpecker birds. In the panhandle, nonetheless.
Nonetheless, what would you expect? And Teach and I have one in our neighborhood, a woodpecker, not a pterodactyl.
That'd be cool, though.
And could you... Pterodactyl! I know the answer. A little inside joke there. But yeah, could you imagine how quickly he would cut down a tree if it was pterodactyl size? Because, good Lord.
Yeah, you would really not need to be around here.
Negative.
Could you imagine, the tree it would need to live in? We don't have anything around here like that.
Could you imagine the bird droppings?
I was about to say the bird poo.
Oh my gosh.
It would be like a boulder in your car.
Call my insurance agent up. Listen, I'm going to need a new windshield. What happened? Woodpecker pooped on me.
Yes, we need that part in the insurance where it covers prehistoric pterodactyl poo.
That's right. That is right. All right, so you ready to get into this?
Yes, I am. Class is in session.
All right, so hope everybody had a good Easter. We didn't record last week because of Easter, and I think that's kind of what is throwing Teach and I off today.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the whole
Maybe that
schedule.
that 3-hour nap we just took. Or
That really could be it.
yes. But 2 weeks ago, when we drew for today's lesson, it was host's choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Teresita Bassa and the report I brought on her? How she came back and solved her murder.
Yes, they thought the person was like crazy.
Mm-hmm. I found another one.
Woo!
Much earlier. Teresita's case was in the 70s. This one today, we're going back to 1673.
Oh.
So the original.
The original.
And at the end of this, some of the ancestors of the man convicted of the murder are going to be well known.
Oh.
So
Ooh.
let's get into it.
It's the Perry Mason thing. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So today we're going to be talking about Rebecca Cornell.
Okay.
She was born Rebecca Briggs in Saffron Walden, Essex, United Kingdom, sometime in the year 1600.
Whoa.
She passed away in Portsmouth, Rhode Island on February 8th, 1673. In 1623, she married Thomas Cornell. So now she is Rebecca Cornell.
Okay.
They had 15 children.
Lord Almighty.
Only 10 of them survived to adulthood.
Wow.
No,
Poor girl.
no TV.
Something.
Something.
Those babies.
Yeah. They immigrated from England around 1638 and permanently settled in Portsmouth in 1644.
Okay, hang on.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. Shush.
Okay. In 1646, Thomas was awarded approximately 100 acres of land. So things are starting to look up. They've got their land. They can start doing some farming.
Hence why they needed all the children.
Exactly. You made your own labor back in the day.
Yeah. Slow growing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in 1655, Thomas passes away.
Oh.
So 10 years after they were awarded the 100 acres of land.
That's enough time to get it settled and going and working.
Exactly. And to Rebecca's credit, in 1657, she was awarded all of his land. You know, women weren't valued back in the day.
No.
But
how was that done?
She went to the courts and they put all of it in her name, all 100 acres.
Good for whatever colony area they settled in.
Yeah. One of her children, Thomas Jr., was a well-respected man in the community. He served several times as a representative from Portsmouth to the General Assembly in Newport, Rhode Island. Placed in many positions of public trust. And by February of 1673, Rebecca is living with Thomas, his wife, 2 sons, and 2 hired hands. So they've really taken that 100 acres of land and really turned it into something.
So they're still living there?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, did they move off? I mean, she worked all that time, got it in her name, and then she moves off?
Right. No,
Okay.
they're still living there. Got the 2 hired hands living with them. And a lot of accounts, Rebecca was a hardened woman, but how could she not, having to work the land after her husband passed away? So had, I'm sure, small children at home, so Some people said she was hard to get along with. Some people said, oh, no, she was the sweetest lady. But all accounts, she was a hardened woman.
Maybe it was the people that were interacting with her.
And their attitude.
Yeah, their attitude towards it all. And, if you don't like someone, your attitude is going to change.
Rather quickly.
Yeah. So I'm going to equate it to the ones that said she was a hardened woman. She didn't like them.
Yeah. Rebecca's bedroom was on the first floor of the home. And just to give you a little bit of layout of it, it had a fireplace and 2 doors. So one that went from inside the house into her bedroom, and then one that you could get to her bedroom from outside. Okay. So 2 doors, separate ends of the room.
Okay. Why would she need a door to go outside? Potty?
The outhouse. Yeah. I mean.
How'd them people upstairs go? Is that where that pot?
That's where that
pot comes
they
in.
got a pot to piss in.
Okay, you just.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Okay.
Now I messed up on my notes and found some other information, so I've got to switch pages.
Shame on you.
I know.
That's a point deducted.
Yes, ma'am.
Organizational skills is part of the whole thing.
Well, but I found another article that went way deeper into, so that's, yes, ma'am.
Sucks to be you. I'm just saying.
On February 8th, if you remember, we already talked about February 8th. That's when Rebecca dies.
Okay.
That afternoon, Thomas spent a little over 2 hours in his mother's room, visiting with her.
Before she dies.
Okay,
I'm like, is he
or
afterwards or what?
Yeah. Well, okay. Before her body's found, anyway.
Now, was she sick?
No, ma'am. She was in good health. I mean, she was in her 70s, but she was for the time, she was in good health. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so not projected to pass away, in other words.
Exactly.
Okay.
Of her room, and did probably the most 1670s thing I could think of, and he started to wind a quill of yarn.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was just a little interesting side note that they put in the article.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, it's just what he did as he came out of her room. He went to the front room and sat down and started winding up some yarn.
His wife was already in there and he was just sitting down to help her. Maybe process the conversation that him and his mom just had.
Exactly.
Okay.
Before he was even halfway finished rolling up the yarn, his wife announced that supper was ready.
Oh, so she was cooking. Okay.
At some point, she got up and cooked.
It doesn't matter. I'm trying to put this whole scenario together so I'm not claiming that Thomas actually killed his mom.
You're not going to like him in a little bit.
Okay.
Or maybe you will. I don't know. Thomas yelled out to his mom, supper's ready. And they were having a delicious meal of vegetables with broiled mackerel.
That's fish.
Yeah. And
it's Portsmouth. That's what's there.
Rebecca said, "It's making the whole house stink, making me sick to my stomach. I'm not having supper tonight." So she just stayed in her room. Okay. Or that's what Thomas announced when he got to the dining room.
So nobody heard this.
But Thomas.
Here's some clues for you.
After supper, Edward, Thomas's son, Rebecca's grandson, went to ask if his grandmother would like some boiled milk, just to have something, I guess, on her stomach. Mm-hmm. And he found a horrendous scene.
Horrendous?
Horrendous.
Okay.
His grandmother was laying on the floor, and she was smoldering like she had been on fire. Now, of course, there's no electricity, so Edward runs to get help and a candle. So they come back into the room with not only Edward, but Thomas's wife, and one of the hired hands. Now, I don't know where the hired hand thought this, but at first he thought it was a drunk Indian. So he started talking to it in the Native American language.
Okay.
And as they got the candle down there, they realized it's Rebecca.
Okay, so there was a blob in the floor, basically.
Basically.
There's no light, but this boy, Edward, could see smoldering. Does that mean like hot coals? Or
he could see like smoke
coming up from this blob thing.
Yes.
Okay, that would absolutely terrify me immediately.
Right.
And no wonder everybody came running. But then it's like, why did that dude think it was an Indian or whatever, something there?
Yeah, it wasn't explained. I don't know if maybe he thought Indians came in to, because she has that outside door.
Okay.
Stole her, and one of them tripped in the fireplace. Or something along those lines.
Okay.
But Thomas, when he gets down there with the candle, he says, he exclaimed, "Oh Lord, it is my mother. Her clothes were wool and cotton, but only the wool part was burnt."
So her whole body is laying there?
Mm-hmm. Her bedding was not burnt, and the curtains were only partially burnt.
So, I'm thinking somebody shoveled some hot fireplace coals over her to try to burn it. Hence why the nasty mackerel smell helped to cover it up.
You could have been
His wife was cooking.
Well, she also had a fireplace in her bedroom, remember?
I understand that, but that's where the coals came from. They just scooped it out and put it on her. But how better else to help cover up a crime scene than to cook some nasty fish to cover up human flesh burning?
Exactly. Also, the theory of Native Americans coming in and stealing Rebecca was quickly dashed because the door going to the outside world,
the back door
in her bedroom,
in our terminology, it would be the back door,
was locked
from the inside, of course. Okay.
Thomas stated that his mother had smoked a pipe and must have caught fire from some of the ashes coming out of it.
Okay, so ashes from a pipe are not a lot to be smoldering on a body. Correct?
Correct. My dad used to smoke a pipe, and I remember him falling asleep once with it lit, and he's still around. Yeah.
So, but I'm thinking the small amount of whatever's in the pipe versus whatever was on
her wool clothing.
For her wool clothing to be burned is different. Unless that little bitty bit was enough just to burn the wool. I don't understand this concept.
I don't either. However, her pipe was never found, so she wasn't smoking it.
Here's the Perry Mason song.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun. So now we introduce a new character in this story, Mr. Henry Strait.
Okay.
He was the local coroner.
Okay.
He examined her body and ruled that Rebecca had, and this is in quotes, doing my air quotes, come to her untimely death by an unhappy accident of fire as she sat by the fireplace in her room. So he's saying some of the fire embers had popped out of the fireplace
and onto her dress.
Onto her dress, caught on fire.
Like maybe she didn't know it and it was at the bottom of like her hem, and she just sat there in her own little world, not noticing that her dress was on fire.
Exactly.
That's stupid.
Now, and I'm thinking, how in the world did nothing else in her room catch fire? Because I know it said only the wool part of her clothes burnt, Wool's pretty flammable. I'm thinking the flames would. How did none of her bedding catch on fire? How did the walls not catch on fire and only her curtains were partially burnt?
This whole scenario smells like Thomas, so I don't know, because
there were two theories on the fire. Number one, like I said, the spark from the fireplace landed on her dress.
Which is conceivable. It really is, because things like that, would happen.
That is the most logical, because...
But my question, yeah.
No, okay, ask your question.
No. Okay. I interrupted and I apologize.
No, ma'am, ask your question.
Like, she was a flippin' smart woman. Was she just going to sit there and like, oh, Lord, my dress is on fire?
Yeah, did she not call for help? Did she not cry for help?
Exactly.
Was she able to?
No, she was not, because she was already dead.
The second theory, which is not as easy to understand or explain, and maybe possibly sometime in the future when we draw host choice again, may possibly be doing a report on it. Spontaneous human combustion.
Okay. But that puts a different spin on the theory.
True.
Because, I mean, we've seen documented pictures of combustion.
Right. So
if then that's the case, then it would be just contained to her.
Okay.
And maybe the heat
scorched the curtains.
The curtains. That's like a northern sound.
Yeah.
Like way northern.
Like Rhode Island?
Could be. So that puts a different aspect on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just picturing her in the floor with soot and a smoldering dress, but her body was there.
Sure.
So, but if it was combustion, then part of her would not have been there.
Good point.
So, was there any clarification between what her body actually looked like?
Not exactly, but we'll touch on that here in just a second.
Okay. It'll help clear up the mud in my brain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Rebecca's death has now become a mystery. How did she die? Other than fire.
Yeah.
How'd that fire get there? Rumors started swirling around town, even though Thomas was a well-respected man, that there had been trouble in the past between Rebecca and Thomas.
Rebecca seems like she was a very well-educated, I don't know.
She was a smart cookie.
Exactly. And mouthy.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to talk to me like that. Exactly. I've got my brains about me, so don't be talking to me like I'm a nitwit.
Yeah, word. 100%.
That's how I will be.
Yeah, That's why whenever you say something, I just say yes, ma'am.
Right.
Rebecca's neighbor, George Soule, I'm going to say,
okay.
Soule, Soule.
Okay.
Said that Rebecca had told him in the spring she's going to move into a house with her other son, Samuel. So, this is February. Mm-hmm. So in the spring, April, May, she's going to move in with Samuel. Thomas did not like this because Thomas, even though he was a well-respected man and held some positions of authority in the community, he was also known as a lazy man who did not like to work. And if mom's moving in with brother Samuel, she's taking her money with her.
Aha! Ding, 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 ding.
Rebecca had told the neighbor, George, I'm afraid I may be put away before I get the chance to move.
So she had a feeling
that Thomas would do something. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how long she lived with him before this happened.
Only about 6 months.
Wow.
Wasn't long.
So what was he doing before that?
Just enough to get by.
I can't stand lazy people.
Same.
Oh my gosh, I'm about ready to just...
Strangling? He's a little crusty now.
Probably more than crusty. Probably like floofy.
Floofy.
Yeah.
More testimony comes from John Briggs. Is his last name Briggs sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
That was Rebecca's name before she got married to Mr. Cornell. This is her brother. Just a little background information on John. He was born in 1609, so Rebecca is 9 years older than he is. I could not find anywhere. He may still be alive, roaming around Rhode Island
now,
today.
How cool is that?
Because I couldn't find anything about his death.
Maybe he died in a different state.
Maybe so.
That's logical.
He was one of the youngest signers of the Compact of 1638, which led to the settlement of, I'm going to try to not mess this up, Aquidneck.
Sure.
Aquidnack. Aquidneck. So Aquidneck is an island in Narragansett Bay, up in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And in 2020 census, it had a population of 60,109 people.
For this island?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
I hope it's big enough for all them people.
Right. It's like, I looked it up. I think it's like almost 40 square miles. So it's pretty good
big.
size.
Okay.
He served several key positions in Portsmouth. He was a constable, a juryman, a surveyor of land.
So he was a worker.
He wasn't nothing like his nephew was nothing like him.
Oh, I bet Thomas got babied after his daddy died, although he was already a grown man.
Exactly.
So why didn't the daddy beat the crap out of him? I mean,
or maybe daddy babied him.
Maybe so. Now, I'm not saying that, like, I'm just terminology for back then. Like, you worked.
Sure.
I mean,
you had to.
Or maybe that was my background, where the Billingtons would have just beat the crap out of you and you better work. Or, just stole it from you.
Hey, you work so I can steal it from you, please.
Exactly. Or you distract them and I'll just go in and take it. See, I don't know if that's the Billington, but you know my work ethic.
Mm-hmm. If it's got to get done, whether I feel good, whether I'm tired, whether I'm hurting, it's got to get done.
And if I'm working that hard, what should you be doing?
I should be working twice as hard, at least as hard as you to keep up.
Yes.
All right, so some more information on John.
Okay.
He came to Boston in 1635 on the ship The Blessing, a few years before his sister and the rest of the family came. I believe it was 1638 when they came over, so he came over in 1635.
Maybe he was the scout.
Very well could have been. He moved to what is now Rhode Island and was licensed to operate an ordinary. Have you ever heard that term? You know what an ordinary is?
A store?
A tavern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be a cool name.
The Ordinary?
Uh-huh.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Business venture.
Maybe for somebody else.
Yeah. It was common to have town meetings in tavern back in this time.
Yes.
And so, another sign that how well respected and how people of the town thought of him, holding the meetings in his business. And although he couldn't read or write, he was a leader of the town.
So he couldn't write, but yet he signed his name to that thing?
He could write he couldn't write like a whole.
Oh, he wasn't going to write a novel.
Exactly.
But he could write his name.
He could do his name and simple things.
Yes. Well, he was a pretty smart man then.
He was smart enough to know that he wasn't very smart.
Well, I'm just thinking of the businesses and everything
Sure.
that he was into, like surveying and whatnots.
Exactly. He was people were quoted as saying about John, a credible man with a good reputation.
Of course.
Okay, so saying all this, to lead up into what he does next.
He didn't kill his sister, did he?
No.
Okay, I was like, I'm sorry, Thomas.
I got teach on that one.
It's about to be like, psh.
Read all that.
Mm-hmm. So do we need...
Burnt. Right here.
Okay.
John went to the court system, however it was laid out back in the day, and said that for the last 3 nights my sister has visited me in my dreams. The first night she said, "I am your sister Rebecca. See how I was burnt."
Okay, so proof.
Next night, she stated that I did not die in the fire. It lifted up her shirt just enough to reveal 2 stab wounds above her stomach.
Okay.
The third night, she came back and said, "Why have you not gone to the courts? I was stabbed once, but have 2 wounds. The scissors are still in the house."
I don't understand that. Oh, because the scissors have 2 bunkers. Okay. Bunkers.
Yeah,
You
bunkers.
like that? Whatever those are.
Well, from here on out, they're bunkers.
Yo, bunker.
So, teaching opportunity.
Uh-oh.
Because we have not talked about this in any of our 28 episodes so far.
28?
This is our 28.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're getting older.
So I'm going to give you a definition.
Of a bunker?
No.
Okay.
Exhumed, to dig out something buried, especially a corpse, from the ground.
Well, yes, okay.
So, and that comes from dictionary.com. Rebecca was exhumed. Remember?
So he went to the courts and they were like, let's just find out.
Let's do another examination. You remember Henry Strait?
Yeah, the dude that didn't do his job.
The coroner?
Yeah.
He just looked at her and said, "Yeah, she died in a fire, unhappily."
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that has died in a fire that was happy about it, by the way.
Don't know either. Can't fire him, but whatever.
So, Henry Strait does another examination and does, in fact, above her stomach, find 2 puncture wounds. And he said they are consistent with scissors. I stuck my scissors inside them.
So I'm thinking like upper...
Yeah,
okay.
it said just above the belly button. So
Okay.
So this being the era of the witch trials and ghost sightings being taken very seriously, Thomas was quickly found guilty
Well, he was
of
the
murder.
he was the only one that had seen her.
He-
The last one to talk to her.
Spent the 2 hours in her room. That's probably when she died.
Could have been a very slow death.
Yeah, could have. He was sentenced to death, and on May 23rd, 1673, Thomas was hanged.
He didn't put up no fight. Like, I didn't do this.
He exclaimed he proclaimed his innocence until the very end. Proclaimed.
Well, I would hope he would be exclaiming it.
He exclaimed his proclamation loudly.
Yes, with exclamation points.
Thomas's wife also claimed her husband was innocent and did nothing to his mother.
She wasn't in that room with him.
How does she know, right? And if y'all heard that burp, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, baby, but if you kill somebody, I'm telling on you. I'm ratting you out.
I don't blame you at all. Thomas's wife was also pregnant.
Okay.
Later on in the year 1673, she gave birth to a little girl.
Okay.
She believed her husband was innocent so much that her daughter's name was Innocent Cornell.
Oh.
Went through life with that name.
thinking her daddy was innocent, and the town judged him and killed him.
Mm-hmm. Until Innocent grew up and married Richard Borden, making Thomas Cornell the 6 times great grandpa to one Lizzie Borden. You know what they say?
Like that Borden, man, it runs in the family.
A family that murders together
Stays together. So Innocent was what? She married into the Borden family.
She married Richard Borden.
Okay.
And so she would be the 4-time great grandmother of Lizzie? 3 times? I don't. Her dad is the 6-time great grandfather to Lizzie Borden.
Okay.
Now, just to swing the pendulum the other way to show how you could either be a huge success or an infamous murderer.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas is also the 4-time great grandpa, so great 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 grandpa to Ezra Cornell. Do you have any idea who Ezra is?
No.
He is the founder of Western Union
Oh.
and Cornell University.
Whoa.
So,
Like, who did he spring from?
yeah.
Wow.
So,
that just goes to show, like, greed.
mm-hmm. You can use your smarts. You know, Ezra used great 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 grandma Rebecca's smarts and hard work. Started a company that is still being used today.
Yep.
Started a university that is still in operation today.
Yes. Well known. Wow.
So that is the story of Rebecca Cornell. My bibliography for this week is famouskin.com, article Family Relations of Thomas Cornell, portsmouthhistorynotes.com, the cast of characters, John Briggs and his nightly vision, familypedia.com, Rebecca Briggs, Cornell, 1600 to 1673, RIHS.org. The RIHS is Rhode Island Historical Society. Burnt with Fire. That's a heck of a name for an article.
Yep.
And one of our favorite TV channels, investigationdiscovery.com. How a ghost convicted Lizzie Borden's ancestor for killing his mother.
Wow.
And teach, that is Rebecca Cornell.
Wow. So how long after that she was killed before they hung Thomas?
She died in February and he was executed in May.
Wow.
So same year.
Where's that justice system?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, billions of people later.
Appeals and
Yes. Let's make sure everybody gets what they deserve by spending millions of dollars to keep them alive. Anyway.
So what is my grade for this week, Teach?
I would absolutely give you an A on that one because that was pretty good. Although I mean I figured out who the murderer was, but
I almost had you thinking that it was the brother.
yeah, for a split second, just because of the way you said it. But I was like, there's no way. He was flipping in there for 2 hours with his mama.
Nobody saw her, heard from her afterwards.
Exactly. And then coincidentally, they're having the stinky fish.
It's almost like he
Mackerel?
planned it out.
Yeah.
Mackerel, yeah.
Yeah. All because he was lazy.
Wanted his mama's money and not have to earn it.
Yeah. I'm proud that the other brothers and sisters, didn't turn out like that.
Exactly.
I hope they wasn't lazy.
No, ma'am.
Did you look them up? No.
No, but there's not articles written about them.
So they had to be pretty good.
They kept their name out of the news. All right, teachers reaching in to see what we will be reporting on next week.
Awfully thick piece of paper. I think it's rigged. Ooh.
It's got
my favorite.
true crime.
Oh my gosh.
Have I got a story for you?
Ooh, I can't wait because I want to know all of it.
Heck yeah. All right.
Well, you did a good job, babe.
Thank you, Teach.
Uh-huh.
Don't call your other students, babe.
No. I'm not allowed to say what I call them. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
It's more like, dude.
What was you thinking?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, do you even know my name? Yes, but that dude was the first thing that popped out of my head.
I love it how you students call you Miss. That's hilarious to me. All right, classmates, y'all have a great week.
Absolutely. Class is dismissed.